The first seeds of suspicion were planted months earlier. Traoré, having consolidated power in Ouagadougou after his bold military takeover, had been pressing for true economic independence. He had long criticized the CFA franc system, calling it a chain around Africa's neck, a relic of French colonial control. But in early 2024, during a closed-door meeting with his finance minister, he noticed something troubling. "Our official reserves are listed at $3.2 billion, the minister said, pointing to a document stamped by BCO. "And how much of that is physically in Burkina Faso?" Traoré asked. The minister hesitated. "None. It's all centralized in Dakar." Traoré frowned. That meant Burkina Faso's reserves, along with those of Mali, Niger, Togo, Benin, and others, were not in their countries, but in one foreign-controlled vault. And worse, 50% of those reserves were reportedly held in French accounts in Europe, as per long-standing agreements. Something about that arrangement gnawed at him. If we do not help our neighbors, we betray our ancestors. We are not the artificial lines drawn by colonizers. We are a people, one people, and I will not watch 8,000 lives perish in our backyard. He demanded a full audit, but when his request for an independent inspection was politely ignored by BCO, his suspicion hardened into resolve. Traoré decided to see the truth with his own eyes. In mid-March 2024, under the cover of what was officially described as a regional security summit, he flew to Dakar with a small delegation. Unbeknownst to the public, his mission had nothing to do with counterterrorism or border security. It was about the vault. Before departing, he summoned Colonel Amadou, his trusted intelligence chief. "If what I suspect is true," Traoré said in a low voice, "this is bigger than terrorism. Bigger than any coup. This is about Africa's soul." Colonel Amadou nodded grimly. "Do you expect resistance?" "I expect lies," Traoré replied. The BCO headquarters in Dakar was an imposing structure, glass, steel, and the aura of untouchable authority. Traoré's convoy was received with diplomatic smiles and rehearsed courtesies. Cameras flashed. Speeches were exchanged. The usual performance of African unity. But behind the scenes, tension simmered. The governor of BCO, an elderly technocrat with French ties, was clearly uncomfortable when Traoré requested a personal inspection of the reserves vault. "Excellency, such matters are highly sensitive," the governor said, forcing a smile. "Sensitive to whom?" Traoré asked sharply. "To Africans? Or to Paris?" The room froze. The governor hesitated, then reluctantly agreed, but not without a warning. Protocol must be observed. 2 hours later, accompanied by a handful of senior officials, Traoré descended into the belly of the building. Through biometric scanners, armored doors, and reinforced steel corridors. Finally, they entered the vault. It was vast, a cathedral of concrete and steel, humming with artificial air, lined with towering shelves of sealed containers. In the center, massive bullion cages gleamed under fluorescent light. Pallets of gold bars, neatly stacked. Crates marked with international codes. To the untrained eye, it looked impressive, solid, eternal. But Traoré was not impressed. He was suspicious. "Open one," he ordered. The governor hesitated again, but complied. A technician pried open a crate with gloved hands. Inside, bars of gold, stamped and numbered. The governor smiled. "As you can see." "Weigh it," Traoré interrupted. A portable scale was brought. The first bar was placed. The digital screen flickered and stopped. The weight was wrong. Each gold bar was supposed to weigh 12.4 kilograms. This one weighed 8.6 kilograms. A second bar, 8.9 kilograms. A third, 9.1 kilograms. The room grew silent. The governor stammered something about variances due to handling, but Traoré wasn't buying it. "Cut it open," he said coldly. A technician fetched a cutting tool. Sparks flew as the blade sliced through the bar. When the two halves fell apart, a hollow clink echoed in the chamber. The core was not gold. It was tungsten, coated with a thin layer of gold. The vault that was supposed to hold billions in pure reserves contained fakes. Traoré demanded a full inventory on the spot. As crates were opened, the truth unraveled like a sinister tapestry. Out of the supposed $50 billion in collective reserves stored for the 8 West African nations, over 70% was fraudulent, either underweight bars or tungsten cores masked with gold plating. The realization hit like a thunderclap. Africa's economic security was built on an illusion. The governor tried to explain, "This must be an error from prior audits, perhaps during the transition." But Traoré's glare cut him off. "This is not an error. This is theft. Decades of theft." He pulled out his phone and began taking photographs, evidence that could topple governments, trigger sanctions, and ignite revolutions. As Traoré returned to his suite that night, his mind raced. Who was behind this? Was it internal corruption within BCAO? Was it French oversight, or French complicity, or something bigger? A global gold laundering syndicate operating through African reserves? He'd tasked Colonel Amadou with a covert investigation. Within days, preliminary intel suggested a network of elites, African politicians, European bankers, and even Gulf intermediaries had been systematically swapping real gold with fakes over decades. Every audit was paper-based, relying on certificates rather than physical checks. The system was designed for blind trust, and blind trust had been exploited. The next move could define Traoré's legacy or destroy him. If he exposed the truth immediately, the CFA system would collapse overnight. The 8 West African economies would plunge into chaos. Millions could suffer inflation, unemployment, and panic withdrawals. If he stayed silent, the theft would continue. Africa would remain enslaved to a fake illusion of wealth. He chose a third path, strategic exposure. Traoré flew back to Ouagadougou in secrecy and called an emergency summit with the leaders of Mali and Niger, 2 nations that shared his anti-colonial stance. In a dimly lit conference room, he laid the photos on the table. The room went silent. "Gentlemen," Traoré said, his voice low but firm, "our gold is gone. Our future was stolen while we fought each other over borders drawn by foreigners." The 3 men devised a bold plan. Form a confidential investigative alliance to trace the stolen gold. Quietly replace the CFA system with a new West African sovereign currency, backed not by foreign-controlled reserves, but by real assets. Gold mines, energy projects, and agricultural output. Reveal the fraud only when their new system was ready, to prevent panic and foreign sabotage. They called it Project Kankanfo, after the legendary warrior who fought to unify the Mande kingdoms. For months, the operation remained secret, but secrets rarely last. In July 2024, a whistleblower within BCEO leaked fragments of the audit to a Pan-African journalist. The headline exploded across social media. "Is Africa's gold a lie?" Leaks suggest billions missing from West African vaults. Hashtags trended overnight. Hashtag where is our gold, hashtag fake vault, hashtag Chornos. French officials dismissed it as fake news orchestrated by populists. BCEO released a statement calling the claims baseless rumors aimed at destabilizing regional stability.